Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. If you're tuning in live with me, it's Monday night, June 3rd. I'll just wait for a few moments to get everybody on, whether it's you're tuning in from Facebook or on YouTube. So, let's see, two. Hey, Aisha. Aisha, why don't you join me over here? Aren't you normally over on YouTube? Hello, Ina and Joanne on Facebook. Let's see, who is joining me over here? It always takes a few minutes for me to be able to see everything on YouTube. Let's see. So if you're tuning in, just write where you're logging in from. And if this is your first night, let me know that as well. Oh, Kelly, I was thinking of you all day today. Hello. I was like, wow, I haven't seen her in a while. So what's new? I'm getting text from my niece here. Hey, Christy. Hello, Annie. Hello, Robin. This is like my romper room moment. You guys know that I always, have to do I see Tiana and I see Nicole and Ellen and Kat. So, as you're typing in and joining me, by all means, you can share this with friends and family who you feel like this would be beneficial to. And I'm going to remind everybody over on Facebook that I don't address any of the questions that you have over here on Facebook, only because I can't manage between the two. I also say that it is much better to watch me over here on YouTube because the background, especially tonight, I changed it. The background, I'm basically sitting on my deck. So you guys see that I'm just in the studio and I've got the green screen behind me. And that's kind of cool to see. But then I think it's much more pleasant to watch me as I sit outside on my deck, even though I'm not really there. So yes, your Monday therapy, Ina, I love that. I was actually had a big thought about that this is like, I love that this is on Monday nights for that very purpose, because the beginning of the week can be kind of slow and draggy because, the weekend's behind us. So having something to look forward to on a Monday night, I think is really good. So I'm going to wait a few more seconds. Everyone's tuning in. Let me get out of all this stuff I have on my screen. So, oh yes, I'm going to keep, okay, so I'm going to talk about that in a minute, Sharon, what you just mentioned. Let me just see who else. Hey, Eileen. Oh, Aisha, you are over here. You're on both. Hello, Grace. Hey, Annie in Colorado. Hey, Kelly from Montgomery. It is a beautiful setting. This is our backyard. And as you can see, right, let's see over here, this area, we need to plant some more grass and work on that, but we think we have grubs. So we have a lot of work to do in the back, but first we're focusing in the front yard. Hello, Veronica and Allison. Thank you. Niskayuna, we have a couple people. I do love my backyard, and my goal, those of you on Facebook, you could tune in on YouTube and you could see my backyard or portion of it. Do you see that? Oh, it's backwards. You see this stone wall right here? I love this. This is just along the entire back. And my goal is to have all of that behind us, grass and trees. And so what I normally do is I get, like, Greg calls me Forrest Gump with the leaf blower, because I get obsessed, like major OCD, and I have to blow all the leaves. And I've been this is our second summer here. We'll live here 3 years in the fall. So this is all I do is the leaf blowing, although we really haven't put much attention to it this year, but I'll get back at it. So see a lot of people tuning in. Yeah, if you're on this one over here, what is this? Facebook. To come over to YouTube. You could come sit in my backyard with me, sort of. And it is a very peaceful, there's 4 acres, goes far, far back. And it's so peaceful. And yet we're not like in the woods where I don't feel like there's other humans around me. So it's like just perfect. So tonight, I know you guys it really looks like I'm outside, which I love. I mean, other than this big giant camera or whatever this microphone is, I think it does really look like I'm hanging out backyard, except for this maybe little halo I've got, but we could just pretend that's my like aura. Let's see. Yes, I'm out of way of poison ivy. I am. I will not go back to that section. Well, I probably will, but I'm gonna totally. I have a team now, or a whole routine, I should say, of things I can do to avoid that poison ivy because that was torture, and I've never ever had poison ivy like that ever. And I thought I was gonna kill somebody because I was pretty crabby and itchy. But it is Monday night, and those of you tuning in for the first time, this is just kind of a time to chat with me and ask more generalized questions about all things energy, guidance questions, but it's not going to be, I'm not going to answer tonight specific questions. So, like if you're writing in, about something or someone specifically, I'm not doing that tonight. Every once in a while, I throw that in and I never announce it. I just see like who's my little faithful following here, and then they get the benefit of the personal intuitive questions. So, this now is my opportunity to help teach or to teach and help people get a better sense of things that you really kind of wanted to know about and all that. So that's the purpose of my whole YouTube channel and the Monday night stuff. I like seeing the names. I feel like I get to meet you guys and know you guys. So then like I'll see you at a gallery and they'll say, "Oh, I'm so and so," and we chat on YouTube all the time, and I just love that. So I feel like I get closer to all of you. Um, I have to remind you that I have classes a lot coming up in the summer, and I'm even contemplating. It's still contemplating. My intuition hasn't completely settled on an answer, but I do want to do a summer camp for a spiritual summer camp for adults, and I am really thinking about holding it here. So, which is crazy. I know. Like what? Inviting people to your house? I know. It just I'm this close to making the decision about it. So, um it's just so serene, and I actually do want to share our place with people because it's I know it's my dream home and my dream environment. Um so I have mediumship class that's held at the center in Newburgh. That is starting. I know it is Father's Day morning is the first class of my mediumship series. So I know that's a tough day, but I put it really early in the morning so that you'll be done. That morning I have a 7 a.m. meditation. And those of you who know me know I'm not a freaking morning person, but 7 a.m. meditation. And then you can come to meditation and mediumship, or just meditation, or just mediumship class. And it'll be done by, I think it's 11, we're done by that day. So plenty of time for like barbecues and all of that. I also have the energy transformation class beginning in September. A lot of you signed up after last week, and this is the most intense class that I teach all year. It'll be my last section of the energy transformation awareness for 2019, so I won't teach it again until the spring of 2020. And this is all about energy. I mean, we learn from how to command energy into our hands, how our thoughts create our reality and are directly connected to our energy field. And then we go through the stuck energy and emotions based on our like core beliefs and our upbringing, and just the stuff that is kind of lingering in our cells, the nasty, junky, toxic, old stuff in energy form. That's harming our bodies or sitting in our bodies. And then we do a whole catharsis. I call it dredging. We pull that up and we clean and clear out our energy field. And this is something that could be done over and over and over. But this class is the one for really getting in touch with your shit, like for real, for total real. So that's coming up in September. Now you have to take part 1 if you want to take part 2, which will be held in November, and part 3 is also in November, and then in January is the mastery course of energy transformation awareness. So that's that. My Instagram, I'm loving my Instagram. So a lot of you today might have seen my post. I'm notorious for really not being a good gardener, right? And I kill everything. And I kill it because I forget to water it. And then I'm like, oh, it's probably already dead. And even if it's not dead, I just think it is. And you guys know I'm better with dead things. So I just like not really attentive. But I was gifted an azalea last summer, I think it was, or last spring, and it died like quickly. I probably watered that one too much. And so over the winter, I put it in our garage because I heard that that's what you're supposed to do in the winter. Even though it was already dead, I was like, let me just put it in the garage because that's what people do. And yeah, because whatever. And I pulled it out last week and I'm like, all right, I got to give this sticks. I cracked them off. It was dry sticks. And I'm like, let me just see if I can get this thing to come back, right? And oh my God, it's amazing what a little sun and water does for these plants. I put it on our deck right here. It's actually kind of like over here. No, it's over there. No, I can't show it to you. But anyway, I put it, and there's leaves, and I posted a picture of the leaves that are coming back on this dead. It was sticks, like brittle sticks. And I cut it all back like a real gardener does. And it's so exciting. So I read my Instagram post about my metaphor for that particular plant, and that this summer I have a couple plants that I'm going to pay attention to as an analogy for myself. If I'm not watering these plants and I'm not giving them sustenance, it's an analogy for some part of me that I'm not giving myself sustenance. So that's what that is. So find all that on Instagram. Okay. So yes, see a lot of people here who have taken the energy transformation, and they're talking about the dredging process, and it's just ongoing. And it's ongoing. It's never done. It's not like you finish the class and you're like, woohoo, I'm done. You have insight and you have some more tools, and realize that life is a process of pulling up the old, getting rid of it to embrace the new. So there you go. I have a quick thing because Greg just reminded me. I thought this was really funny. And he said, tell them my dragonfly story. And I know as a medium, a lot of people have a real spiritual connection to dragonflies. So it totally fits into the theme of this class, whatever this is. So I'm reading yesterday, you might have seen this, I think I saw it on Facebook, that scientists discovered that female dragonflies, you guys are going to love this, female dragonflies plummet and fake their death. So they fall out of the sky. They purposely fake their death when they don't want a male dragonfly to mate with them. They just plummet out of the sky. They fall flat on their side. And the dude thinks like, oh man, she died. I got to move on. And Greg says that, I said, oh, the female humans should do that. And Greg's comment was no, because males still would try with a corpse. And I thought, you're scaring me. But anyway, so I found this fascinating. One, that they observe this. Two, that like they're so smart. These dragonfly women are like, oh fuck, no, thank you, I'm good. And they plummet to their death and fall to the ground to avoid mating. And it said that they live longer when they mate less and all of that. So I was like, thought that was just amazing. Like, think about it. This is an insect. You don't think that an insect has intelligence, right? I mean, I know we do, but really think about that. Communication skills, prefrontal cortex, pre-planning. I mean, that takes a lot of brain power to plot that whole thing out. So I'm like enthralled with that. I'm telling my kids and my niece, and I'm telling everyone I know. I'm like, oh my God, you know what female dragonflies do? Enthralled. Well, today I was sitting right here, literally, but I was literally outside, and I'm reading, and I swear, all of a sudden a dragonfly lands on its side on the deck, faking her death. Now, don't you normally see dragonflies land like on their feet and their wings are up? Nope. This one was on her, I'm assuming it was her side. And I was like looking everywhere, like, where's the dude? Where's the dude? I'm going to get him. Because it was like, all of a sudden I felt like female power. Like, let me get him. You don't want this. Where is he? I didn't see the guy, but I think that's fascinating information. So look it up. It's pretty amazing. And I think it's just pretty amazing. Yeah, it's pretty amazing that they're smart. And once again, yeah, thumbs up on that story, right? And again, it's that females, we really are the brighter species. I hate to say it, but we really kind of are. So moving right along, I thought that was pretty amazing that one would fall at my feet today. And I went to grab my phone real quick to take the picture of it. And as soon as I got too close, she was like, oh, I gotta go. He left and he's not bothering me. But I'm wondering if like male dragonflies actually process like, oh, dude, she doesn't want this right now. Or are they literally that stupid where they're like, shit, man, all these girls keep dying around me. Like, what are they? Now I need to know what they're thinking. Because we know clearly the females are thinking, they're thinking, no, thank you. But isn't that fascinating? I find that to be totally, totally fascinating. So let's see who's joining me tonight. Michaela and Ina's still here. Diana, Linda, hello. Michelle, Nicole, it is very cool. Antonetta, how are you? Dana. Yeah. Humans just say they have a headache. That is true. But let me tell you, ladies, now that you said it, Dana, I always say, don't forget the headache thing. So here's the female human version of faking your death, because it's a little bit dramatic. But what I used to do, and I have never done this to Greg, but perhaps my ex-husband, I did it to like 8 million times. And I would say, oh, no, 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 I can't, because your grandmother's at the foot of the bed. So I'm telling you, if you don't want to do this, like if you're just like, no, just forget the headache, because they don't care. Forget the headache. Say like either their mom or their grandmother, say some female they respected and loved. Tell them that they're at the foot of the bed, and I swear to God, they're gonna not touch you. They're just gonna be like, no, I just feel like they're watching, and they're gonna be like, yo, oh my God, this is terrible. So try it. That's the human female version. So I want to address some questions too. So for those of you who read my book, In the Presence of Proof, if you have questions about that, I really do want to get to a lot of those, because people are writing to me during the week questions about the book, and then I'm always like, oh, let's bring it up again on Monday night at YouTube. So let me look back to see if there are other questions as we're let's see. Yes, you guys like the new background. This is exciting. Let's see. Hold on. You've had this question since last week. Hold on. Let me see which one it is. Oh, a battery-powered leaf blower? What? Let's see. Hold on. Sorry. I'm reading. Retype your question, Aisha, because I can't see it. Oh, okay. I got it. What is the purpose of the ego? That's a fantastic question. So the ego, and like sometimes people get confused about what ego is. When we say, oh, they have a big ego, we automatically think ego means like you think you have this, like you have a big head. You know what I mean? So that's part of it. But an ego is this belief and this attachment to an identity of yourself that you believe to be true and the whole truth. In other words, you're defining yourself by your past, you're defining yourself by your culture, you're defining yourself by your financial status, by your gender, by your height, by your weight. I mean, ego is anything that you perceive to be a part of your identity, and you believe that's all there is. That's ego. And the point of that is on some level individuation, which means the ego is seeking to set ourselves apart and be unique individuals, which we are. We are all unique, and the ego is correct in that way. The problem with the ego is that if you believe that's all you are, then if it's something is taken from you. So say you are I don't know, super athletic actually, right? And you're an athlete, and an accident takes away your capacity to be an athlete and perform. It's the ego that is messed up, and the ego goes, I don't know who I am anymore. And the ego then creates a story that I must be nothing. Or conversely, it's if you're an athlete and you're super successful and you're amazing, it's like, I am this great person because I'm an athlete and I'm successful. So it places attachment to portions of our unique divinity, ourselves, that could be celebrated, but we often stop there. We don't just say like, I am just a soul on this planet. We say I'm a lazy soul, or I'm an aggressive soul, or I'm a outgoing soul, or a loving soul. We always place this definition of ourselves. And and I said this last week too, as soon as we define anything, judge anything, good, bad, up, down, half, short, short, tall, full, empty, as soon as we create a division and define something, we start to separate and segregate things. So the ego is not good when it comes to unity and being the same. You can have cultural egos though, like you can have all Irish think they're the best, or all Italians, or all this, or all that, or all Catholics, or all Protestants, whatever. I mean, anytime you create an identity based on a portion of something, you're going to create an ego which is sought to differentiate. That would be the purpose of it, is like, oh, look, I'm a unique expression of the energy, but we always get stuck there. The part is that, nope, we're all the same exact energy. We're unique expressions of it. And I really challenge all of you to truly, truly take a step back throughout your week. This is like your homework now. To really, as soon as you're placing a judgment, and what I mean by judgment doesn't even mean like you're negatively thinking or saying or believing something about someone. It could be you see someone getting out a really cool car and you're like, oh, they have a lot of money, or oh, they're a jerk because they have a lot of money, or oh, they think they're great, or oh, cool, they have a lot of money, or cool car. Anytime you're making a distinction about someone based on something very, very narrow and small, a quick interaction with someone. You might see them, you might actually speak to them. Notice your brain is making a processed judgment. That's your ego trying to define and explain their ego. And we do that to see where we fit in or where we don't fit in, to shun people or to belong. That's what we do with that. But notice how quickly you do that. And then remind yourself, as soon as you catch the judgmental thought, say, they are a soul on this planet having an experience. And that changes a lot. It should change a lot. I had that actually this afternoon in my sessions, where I really stopped to think of like, gosh, this is a soul on the planet having an experience. And I'm intrigued by the experience this soul is having, because I know the soul is the same as mine. It's the same thing, but what is it about their particular experience that is making it unique, making them unique? How did this create this soul to develop and evolve in this way? And that creates a loving curiosity rather than a judgment and separation. So I challenge you to try that very thing. Is next time you notice a judgment. I also was on my way to work this morning. There was a woman who was walking disturbingly slow, right? I mean, I thought she was 105 as she walked across the street, and it was causing traffic. It was a heavy road that she was crossing. It wasn't like on a sidewalk. And I'm watching, and normally my inclination could be like, oh my God, hurry up, because I'm always in a rush for no reason. But I stopped and I was like, gosh, what is this soul's experience on the planet? And what is going on? And when I actually saw the person, she was quite young and she was walking disturbingly slow. And obviously something was up. I don't know what, but it was interesting to be able to kind of just observe a soul having an experience and having gentle, compassionate curiosity to their experience, rather than, oh my God, what the fuck, they're messed up, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. You know, that's what we do. And if you say you don't, then you're really unconscious, because it is a natural inclination to have a quick assessment of people, but it's not always correct. It's not always the right one. So that's a great question, Aisha. So did that answer it? Let me know if you have additional questions. Let's see. You guys are all still commenting about the dragonflies. It's great. Those of you on Facebook, don't forget, tune into my YouTube channel. You can see me sitting in my backyard instead of in the studio in front of the green screen. And you can ask me questions there, because I don't really pay attention over here to answer the questions through Facebook. Let's see. Ina, would energy transformation help with being more patient and less anxiety? Yep, I'll have those who took the class. They can kind of weigh in and share their experience about that. But definitely less anxiety, because when we kind of have a view or a insight on where our anxiety originated and how long this has been, and what is constructing the anxiety, what is causing it, then we can recognize that we're not in trouble, meaning like we're not in imminent danger, and that kind of slows down the anxiety attacks or lessens them. And then we start to have control over our thoughts. So absolutely, no doubt, helps anxiety. Patience is my like worst quality. I have very little patience, and terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. I have no patience. I used to feel I had a lot of patience. Then I had children, and then I have no patience like about anything ever. I don't like when stories take too long. I don't like when people drive too slow. I'm just nuts. So maybe I need to take the class again by myself. But yeah, I believe it could help with patience. That's my sticky point. Patience is a sticky point for me because I try, but I get like I'm like a volcano. So let's see. Yes, Jennifer, thank you. I do talk a lot about the ego in my book, and basically the ego is being human. If you're a human being, you have an ego, but if you're also a human being, you're also part spirit, part energy, part soul, however you want to call it. And if we connect, or when we connect with the more spirit soul portion of ourselves, we are not so dug in and tied into our ego sense. So we don't need to like sway so much. We don't need to go like, oh my gosh, my identity is this, my identity is that. We know like our identity is what it is in the moment. It's not um what we what we perceive to be. And Aisha, you're asking, can the ego be an asshole? The ego is an asshole. It's a complete asshole because it's separating, it's making you smaller, it's making you less. So yes, the ego, life is much better lived without the ego. Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth, and oh my gosh, how am I? The Power of Now. They discuss the ego a lot, pain bodies, all of that. He's obviously brilliant. I do have this thing with, and Eckhart Tolle, I mean, he's a spiritual genius, right? So I am not putting Eckhart Tolle down by any stretch, but I'm always fascinated with how many spiritual people don't have kids. Because you know what? I'd be really, really patient and spiritual too if I didn't have children. And I adore my kids. So let me just put that out there. Don't start yelling at me like, oh, how dare you. I adore these kids. I'd go under, I'd stop a train for them. But, um, it's easy to be like, oh, let me just focus in on my own feelings and my own self and my own development when you don't have interruptions 800,000 times. So, yeah, the ego and spirituality and children, all that's all tied up. All tied up. Hello, Emily. I got your message today on somewhere. Somewhere I got your message. You had a message. So I will write back to you. Yes, you guys are liking the new background. I do too. Here's a good one, Melanie. Let me add this. Why are more people choosing shooting others in evil life paths than what we saw previously, do you think? Great question. I don't think it's happening more. Obviously, school shootings and this, spray gun style shootings is more frequent. One, because the press loves to talk about it. And anything that goes out into the universe is in our collective consciousness. So collectively, we are all, you're going to hate this, but collectively, we're all contributing to the consciousness of this mass shooting because we keep focusing on mass shootings. When our collective consciousness is focused on, even before reform happens, and we won't go into political arguments on it, or at least I won't. I know where I stand with it. I know a lot of people have varying opinions. I respect them as well as my own. But if we focus on not even a solution, but the opposite stance, then we are pushing that consciousness. So the moment we hear of these horrific, ridiculous things happening, instead of responding to, oh my God, this is crazy, this is bullshit, what's this world coming to? This is horror, this is getting worse, life is terrible, I feel bad for our kids. What are we passing on to them? What's wrong with this? X, Y, and Z political, this, that, and the other thing. As soon as we start really going into, and our reaction is going to be that, our initial human reaction is going to be of like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? But we must flip that to the opposite. What part of this can we collectively contribute to? What part can we change within ourselves to go towards a solution rather than the negative act? I read this somewhere where someone had said you find the helpers in tragedy, and I do love that. The news tends to do that. They in my opinion, they always go towards fear and horror, but then it swings back to the heroes and the people who rush to the aids of everyone. And I remember 9/11 and the stories about the people taking in people who are stranded on planes and all of that. And that's where our focus needs to be, is, you know what? I am committed 150%. I will never change this. There are people who do shitty things. There are people who do extraordinarily shitty things, off the charts. They're off the bell curve. Um, but the majority of humanity are good. We want to help. We want to be useful. It is part of our nature. We want to belong. We want to feel loved. We want to be able to love. We want to be able to help. We want to be important. I ask people every day of my life in coaching sessions with, what do you want to do? I just want to help people. I don't know what I want to do, but I just want to help people. More people answer that than, I've never had someone go, well, you know what? I really don't give a fuck about people. I'd really just want to make a shit ton of money. I don't meet them. I don't see those people. And yes, they're out there. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to make a ton of money either. But the majority of people are good. I really believe that. So when these things happen in media, our collective conscious is so plugged in. My advice would be to turn off the television. Do not give these salacious studios and networks any of your time, because if you're giving them your time, you're giving them their money with advertisements. Give it to the places that are looking for solutions and actively working on solutions, not just talking about it. So that would be my advice. And honestly, and you guys are going to like go, oh my God, she's lost her mind, although you probably know I have already, or she's crazy, or she's crazy. But stay with me here, okay? I know how I get annoyed with injustice, whether it's dumb injustice of, so and so just stole a soda from that store and they're getting away from it or getting away with it, or, I just can't slow drivers in the left lane. I mean, if I had a gun, I might just lose my shit too one day and be like, oh my God, what the hell? Get out of my way. So I want you to all look at your own anger. Not that to say that we are mass school shooters, but look at your own and own that stuff. Own where it's like, oh wow, that's a hot button on me. Oh, that's a rough spot, and see it and embrace it and recognize that it's part of you as well. That's a spiritual, evolved human that doesn't see them as perfect and is aware of their touch points and is actively seeking on addressing them and aware of them. And if people bring them to your attention, instead of being like, well, too bad, blah, 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 it's like, really look at it. If a lot of people have told you something, we have to notice it. We have to take a look at it. So own your own anger. Own your own anger. And then there's also the whole, like, people say video games, but again, that's all collective consciousness. Where is our collective consciousness? I worry for the United States, and I'm also encouraged by the United States. I worry because collectively, I do think we are all getting, a lot of us are getting beat down, and just feel like, middle class, you're just like, oh my God, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. My life's not horrible. It's not amazing. I'm busting my ass. I'm doing what I can. And yet at the same time, I do think everything that's happening in the world is taking a turn for people to notice, where do you stand? And wherever you stand is great and fine. But where do you stand? And what are you willing to do for what you stand for? Whatever that is, whatever side you're on or whatever you want to talk about, are you going to be an active participant in what you stand for? Or are you just going to run your mouth and be a spectator and then still chime in with what you want, but absolutely make no action steps to go forward? That's another thing to really look at. Where are you taking action for the parts of your life that you feel very passionate about? That's a big question. And we might say, I can't. I can't do my part, but we can. We can. Okay, let's see here. Kimberly, I'm going to answer this generic, so I'm not specifically like going into your past life um, itself, but you said you always had a fear of water and heights. Is that something to do with my previous life? It can. When we have intense fears and we can't trace it back to something that happened in this lifetime, then it absolutely can be something in a past life for sure. I used to see a hypnotist because I wanted to stop drinking soda. Actually, this is like well over 10 years ago. And like 15 years ago. And he told me a story that this man had this fear of floral couches, right? He like absolutely terrified of floral couches. Like if he was at a place or, um, visiting someone's home and they had a floral couch, he could not go near it, could not go in the room with it. And I thought that was so bizarre. I mean, that's a weird one. And under hypnosis, he discovered that when he was about 3 years old or 4, he was had a babysitter. And the babysitter thought it would be fun to smother him in the couch. And their couch at that time happened to be a floral couch. So he made the association of I can't breathe with these couches. So it could very well be an earlier experience in this lifetime that jarred that. Or if you can't trace it or find that in this current lifetime, it very well could be a past life, which I find fascinating. Fascinating. Oh, teachers, you have to be so patient. I don't know how you do it. I mean, it's easier, I think, to be more patient with other people's kids, but I don't know how you do it with the parents. Oh my gosh, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you don't lose your shit daily. So kudos to all of you who are teachers. Oh, Lisa. Ugh, that's aggravating. Lisa was talking about she needs patience right now. Okay, Christine, that's a good one. If someone has had a reading from you in the past and asked intuitive questions about their future, is it ever possible for the answers to those questions to change over time? That would be no, because I'm very godlike and I know everything. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, they absolutely. One, I could be wrong, right? So I hate to say that. I don't want to be at all. My goodness. And I really, really try to really tune in to what's happening, but I could be wrong. So right off the bat, I want anyone who goes to myself or any other intuitive or medium or whatever to engage, like use someone like myself as insight, not gospel. I've had a lot of people that are like, but you said this. And I understand that because I have a couple of intuitives that I'll go to and I'll be like, well, me do said that, so this is what's going to happen. But always approach with your own power. Remember that you have the power to change anything. I could be tuning in myself, or any other intuitive could be tuning into the patterns of what's happened, and therefore we're going off of what's happened and your patterns, what's going to come of that. If you interrupt your pattern and you start seeing like, oh my gosh, I keep doing XYZ, it's not working for me, let me change it, you're going to change the trajectory of your life. So yes, of course they can change. Scenarios, circumstances can change. So be mindful of not thinking anything is like 100%, or don't ever think that, oh, they said this is going to happen and it didn't, so then I failed, meaning you, the sitter, failed. I've heard people say like, what did I do wrong? I was supposed to meet someone and I didn't. What did I do wrong? Or did I scare that person away? And it's like, no, it doesn't really work like that. So your goal really needs to be self-learning about yourself, not finding every medium or intuitive to answer your questions for you. That's why I like teaching, because I feel so much better when I see the lights go on with someone else where they feel like, no, Deb, I made a decision for myself and I feel really, really passionate and strong in it based on the classes or whatever they took with me to exercise their own intuition. I love that. That to me is more important because it's more empowering. Then also it's less stressful because it's like, oh my God, what if I am wrong? I do think of that every single session. Like, what if I am wrong on that? And other times I'll go, nope, I'm 100% positive. So that's a great question. But remember, always, always, always have healthy skepticism with whomever you go to for intuitive advice. I also say, when you're going for intuitive advice, look at the life of the person you're going to. If that person's entire life is a major shit show. They may be brilliant intuitives, and I'm not going to take that away from them. But if you cannot apply at least some of what they speak and hear to their own life, then you need to find someone else. So I'm not saying my life is perfect by any means. There's tons of issues. Um, but there's not a single issue in my life that I don't look over, mull over, think of all sides, play devil's advocate, go for other people, whether it's a therapist or friend or intuitive for other additional insight. What am I seeing? What am I missing here? Um, and that's what you want to see in someone. Are they doing the work too? If anyone tells you like they've got it all handled and covered and their life is great and amazing, follow them. That would be a little sketchy to me because life keeps moving and keeps changing and shit pops up, as we all know. So you have more power than you're all many of you are giving yourselves credit for. Way more power, way more insight. But your job is to own it and to seek out the people, places, and things that only enhance your own power and foster that inquisitive, self-reflective, introspective self, because that's where it's all going to come together for you. You won't keep making the same mistakes. Okay, so let's see. Yes. Oh, Mr. Rogers said that, Jennifer, when scary things happen, look for the helpers. I love that. I love that. I didn't realize it was that. All right. Let's see. Injustice. Oh, hello, Miss Christine. Okay. If someone is constantly negative, how do we protect ourselves and help them at the same time? It's annoying. It comes to a point where you got to walk away. I really feel like that. It's just, it comes to the point where if something is constant negativity, and that person, or that, if it's a school, if it's administration, whatever it is, there's a refusal to see the negativity, there's a part where you can't change it, and you have to really see, like, is this worth being around? It's kind of like, do you really like hanging out in toxic shit all day long? Do you really want to be able to see the worst sides of everyone, everything? Do you really want to like be in the consciousness of everything sucks, nothing's going to get better, everyone sucks, no one's good, all of that stuff? You don't want to be around that. And there's a part where you either become it, or it pushes you so hard that I do feel like you have to just walk at some point, because you can't, it's dimming your own light at that point. It's becoming too draining, and it's very easy to assume the negative consciousness of negativity much more easily than it is for positive consciousness. Why is that? I don't really totally know the science behind that, but we are more conditioned to gravitate towards negativity. It is harder to stay focused at first. I think it's harder to stay focused and try to see the good in people than to just instantly slip in. Our insecurities, our ego also contributes to that. So that's important. Let's see. I'm ignoring some comments here, so let's just move right along. Let's see. You want to work with plants or things that don't speak and no answering phones? Yes, Sharon, that is very, very smart. Hold on, let me see. Okay, let's not get that one. I'm trying. Hold on, guys. Nope, can't do that. Hold on. Sorry. I don't know how to get rid of people, but I will absolutely figure that out. Or Greg can start figuring that out. Okay, let's see. It's hilarious. Hello, Lucky31. Okay, Maureen, can a loved one that's passed send a certain person into your life, or is that just you wishful thinking? it's all kind of the same thing. Here's why I don't want to say absolutely yes they do, but they do. I do believe yes, but it's not an absolute, because the flip of that answer, that question is, how, say your father's passed, and after your father passed, your marriage fell apart and you were left alone and you wanted to look for a partner, and then you found this partner and you really feel like your father sent that person to you, which, yes, that absolutely can happen. But the flip of that is, if, like, hey, did my dad pass, my marriage fell apart, why isn't my dad sending someone to me, is the opposite side of that question. So if you don't feel like, well, my dad passed too and he's not sending me anything, then you have to look at both sides. So it's also what you attract based on what you believe. If you believe your loved ones or the universe or whatever it is you want to think about or say, there has to be a belief within you to attract that, person or persona or event or opportunity in your life. So I'm so reluctant to say absolutely, because then the other flip, the half people are going to go, then, well, how come my people aren't sending me anyone? Similarly, when people say, did so and so prevent me from getting killed in an accident, or my kids or whomever? Yes, but also no, because there was a larger picture going on there. There was something else going on. So it's all about souls, and it wasn't someone's time to go. So for those who have people who were killed in an accident, they'd go like, well, why didn't my people prevent it? So you want to look at both sides. I'm more interested in, what are your action steps, your core beliefs, and how are they geared in a way that it is helpful and moving you forward, so that you can be meeting the right people and being at the right place at the right time. Make sense? I hope so. Let's see. Hello, Carolyn. How are you? Hello, Debbie. How are you? Me? Wrong? I know, right? Okay. Let's see. Patty, you mentioned seeing a medium to a friend. They told me I should not, because it creates an opening for Satan. Not what I believe. Why is mediumship seen as evil by some? I don't know. I don't know. And I know it's biblical, but I also believe that Jesus, when he was talking about, like, I will resurrect from the dead, I truly believe that he was talking not literally, that he knew that his spirit was going to go on and would have connection and communication to his people all throughout time. I really truly believe he meant that. I know it's one of those interpretive things. I respect everyone's interpretation as well as I respect my own. I also do see the flip, where you do have some batshit crazy people who say batshit crazy things in the name of mediumship and on fear-based. So there's a portion of, just like there's portions of doctors who are terrible, and lawyers and this and that, but you have to be mindful of the information that's coming from a medium. Is it mostly scary? Is it fear-based? Is it making you nervous that you need to, like, have more insight from them because you're afraid? If those are the things that are happening, that is not the right medium, and I do feel like that's a whole other thing. Whether is it Satan? I mean, I don't think in those terms, but I wish I knew. I wish people had a little bit more open mind, and at the same time, I think we do. I think people are starting to have more of an open mind. But it's why I don't tell people what I do at all. I was away this weekend at a basketball tournament, and one of the other players' grandfathers were talking with me, and that dreaded question of, and what do you do, came up, and I thought, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm gonna literally die right now. Like, I don't want to go there. And I just said, I do grief counseling. I do a form of grief counseling. That's what I said. Grief counseling, did I say, or grief therapy? One of the two. I said I do a form of grief therapy. And I left it at that, because I figured, let him. I wasn't totally inaccurate. So I don't know. I just don't know. Let's see. Oh, hello, Leanna. Is it your birthday today, Leanna? And I didn't know this. So if it is, happy birthday. Okay, let's see. Christina, this is a great question. Can I talk a little bit about knowing if something is a true sign from a loved one on the other side versus us projecting, hoping, or simply convincing ourselves it's a sign? That's a great question. I always say, how do you know if a sign is a sign? It's how you feel when you receive it. And it literally sometimes can be just like a nanosecond of like, oh, thank you. Oh, you're here. Something's just as simple. Or like just a quick like acknowledgement, and then it moves on and like you move on from it. But it's how you feel. I really recommend to people not to tell people like, oh, I saw this sign, or oh, I saw that sign. Or if you do, make sure your audience are people who are totally into this and are supportive of it, because the worst thing is when someone completely shoots down a sign that you firmly believe is a sign. So be mindful of that. And thirdly, um, I always say, people will say to me, but Deb, I think I made it up. I think I made up that sign. I think I made it to be that way. And then I will tell you in that moment that, okay, make it up again right now as you're speaking to me. And they look at me like, I can't. And that's when I go, I know. Because you can't make it up. You can't make these things happen. Yes, maybe we can do, you know, I know we all play tricks. I mean, I do it still. Like, oh, show me this. And I always tell people, don't tell them to do that, but show me this if you're really here. And, 9 times out of 10, I do see it, feel it, get it, whatever. Not because I'm a medium. It's just because that's like, I know my rhythm. Um, but it's how you feel. And can you duplicate it instantly? If you can duplicate it instantly, you might be reaching. You might be going like, oh, I really want that to be a sign, which is also okay because we do want that. But we don't want to feel like we made these up. With meditation, my meditation classes, when our loved ones come through to us in the meditation, people always say, no, I think I made it up. And I'm like, okay, watch when you do another meditation and they don't show up and you realize you can't make it up. Dreams, you can't make up dreams. So I would say most people tend to make up very little. Yes, I've been with many who are like, this is a sign, that's a sign, this is a sign, this is a sign. And I will be like, okay, no, slow your roll, slow down, sister. Um, but for the most part, if you feel like it is, it most likely is, which is a great question. Oh, yes, Eileen, walk or roll away. Roll away, girl. Roll away from the negativity. Thank you for correcting me. Okay. Can our pets that pass away hang out with us? You swear you see your cat Daisy in the corner of your eye? Absolutely. Pets are energy. Pets are our loved ones as well, so they absolutely can. And you don't make that up. You swear I see Daisy in the corner of your eye. I'm going to tell you right now to go back to like the question before you. Then make that up right now. Make up seeing this Daisy out of the corner of your eye, and you can't. You can't make it up in this moment. So again, be um that would be your telltale sign of like, oh, I can't duplicate that. Okay. Have I ever done a private group where all the people were hoping to hear from the same person? Absolutely. I do them all the time, every week. Yep. I do private group sessions. My private group sessions are always held at my center. I don't travel to other people's homes to do them. Um, I always recommend strongly, if you get a group of at least 5, no more than 10, and I still recommend very, very strongly to keep it to as much family as possible, because if you have 10 friends, you don't know. I still can't ever guarantee like, yes, everyone's going to get something meaningful and what they need to hear. So my office is very adamant of like, 10 friends, you can do it and I'll do it. But not everyone, even among 10 friends, will be guaranteed that they will hear from someone will get something, everyone will get a message, or that they'll hear from whoever they want to. But the good thing about my private groups are that we hand schedule them. You don't have to jump online to schedule those like we do every month. You have to get that appointment. Those are hand scheduled. So you will be guaranteed a time and date that works for us. Let's see. Oh my gosh, don't you love Susan? I'm so glad you tried it. Is this hibiscus tea amazing or what? I love it. It's got a little bit of like, I don't even want to say sweetness. It's like a tang or something, and I just love it. So I'm glad you tried it. It's very, very good for the liver, very cleansing. So it's good. Okay, Veronica. I like that name, Veronica. If you don't get a sign, can it just be that you're not open or trying too hard, or does it take time after passing? It's totally that. It's mostly that our brains are so wired to believe something to be true, that we're only looking for one thing, and we kind of ignore the 99,000 things, ways that they're getting these little winks. I call them winks more than even signs to us. It's just that we're conditioned. I had actually a family today, and the mom, the daughter, it was a mom and daughter, and the daughter had mentioned how every time her mom goes to a medium, she always says, no, that doesn't make sense. No, I don't know that. No, 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 no. So that's really good information for me as a medium to know, because as soon as I hear someone saying no, no, no all the time, I start getting like, oh my God, do I suck? What's wrong with me? But knowing that in advance, I'm like, okay, this is how she responds in a reading. And maybe later when she listens back to the recording, things will click. Thankfully, she did not say no in my reading. So I was like, all right, this is good. But a lot of times it's that you're looking in one area and you're just not realizing that signs come in so many different methods, so many different ways. I asked my brother's like 40-year anniversary of his passing was on Friday, and I just by, chance was like, all right, show me that you're here. Just give me a little wink, give me a thumbs up, whatever it is that you need. And within 10 minutes, I had like something, it's really dumb, and I will never share what this one is because I've gone to mediums and no one's ever picked up on 3 things that I need him to say. Not any medium, and I've seen them all, have ever said it. So that's why I tell people, don't say, if this medium says this, then I'll know she's real or he's real, because I've been to top mediums and none of them have ever said those things. So just be mindful of that. But pay attention with curiosity. Realize that signs are not a burning bush that's going to come up in front of you. It most likely will not be a dream or something very, very, very obvious. It's usually something really, really dumb and really subtle. And it could be like, oh, I just want to know you're here. And then you turn your head, and as you're driving down the road, the street name is their name. I mean, that's a big one, actually. But, just pay attention and thank them for the sign. Thank them. Say, thank you for letting me feel you, letting me know you're here, letting me get that wink, that sign. Instead of saying, please give me a sign, please, please, please. It's throw it out in with gratitude of like, thank you that you're around. Thank you for letting me know you're here. That helps facilitate. That's interesting, Noreen. Noreen's question is, why do I only dream of lost loved ones when stressed out or grieving? Never dream of them when things are going good. Why? Could be a lot of things. It could be that we tend to, that whole like footprints in the sand thing with Jesus, and I was walking by Jesus, and when I really needed you the most, there's only one set of footprints, and that's when he says, yeah, that's when I was carrying you. It's along those lines of sometimes we just don't need them, and we're just not like dialing them up or calling on them. But other times, like when you're in times in stress or grieving, you need them. So even if you're not consciously asking for their help, unconsciously, you're kind of throwing out that net of like, please help me, please give me something. So I would say that would be the most possible, plausible reason why that would happen. Carolyn, it's too bad I have a hard time revealing comfortable words to explain your beautiful gift. Yes, I always want that description, but I also think that I think it's still weird. I think mediumship is still portrayed as something that I don't think it is. So not until media cleans it up, which I don't think they will, because I think people either want to get scared or freaked out, or they want that like woohoo creep factor or woo woo factor. And I'm not that. I'm never going to be that. So I think once you have just more information out there as to what mediumship, in my opinion, really is, in my experience, it really is. It's the perceptions that need to, those walls need to break down. And that's why I have a hard time. Also, I had a hard time because the person's son-in-law, and they were all pastors at a church. So I thought, oh God, I'm like, this might not be good. So that was the other reason why I thought I'm not going to get into any sort of religious anything with anybody. We're all good. Wow, Mr. McIsaac, you joined my group tonight. Thank you. Yeah, I've got the plants, the ones that James, you'll see his comment today in my Instagram post when I posted about my plants, and he then wrote, oh, we could still see the price tag on your pottery, the vase that it's in. So naturally my heart sunk, like, what? So I like looking through the picture, I'm blowing it up in my hand, like, I don't see the price. What is he talking about? Where's the price tag? And then he's like, haha, just kidding. And I was like gonna throw up. I was gonna throw up because I'm like, my God, yeah. So that's James. So everyone say hi, James. Give James a thumbs up. How about that? Click thumbs up for James. Let's see. Why Carol is writing, in your dreams you see loved ones who have passed, but there's no volume. That's interesting. Could be a couple things. One, it could be with our dreams, because our subconscious mind still wants to be in control of like what's possible and what's not possible. And our minds say like, oh, you're past, so it's not possible. So it could be that like, oh, you're here, but I can't hear you, is part of the brain's mechanism of making it make more sense, if you will. I would really pay attention to, is it everyone in the dream that there's no volume? Are there certain people? Because I would say just metaphorically, it was either you're not feeling heard or that you feel that person wasn't being heard. So dreams are a lot more interpretive than obviously literal at many times, but I would say that would be the reason why. Good night, Rita. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Okay. Oh, your hummingbird story. Oh my God, Jennifer, that's amazing. Let's see. Yep, when you think of someone, Dana writes, when you think of someone right out of the blue, and then I will either meet them or find out they have currently passed. This is happening more frequently. That's someone just asked me that this afternoon today. Said the exact same thing. Like this guy popped in my head, and I asked my old friend, how's he doing? They're like, he just passed. That's being connected to the what I call the ether. That's that collective consciousness. It's like you picked up on something. So your brain locked in on something. And then that something gets revealed later. I call them my BLTs, my big long thoughts, that I just get all the time, where I'll have a big long thought about hot air ballooning or something. And then all of a sudden that next reading, it's like the person proposed in a hot air balloon, So it's paying attention, being aware. And a lot of times, like when I have the thought of hot air balloon, now I know like, oh, this is going to come up somewhere. But a lot of times I miss those things, and I'll go, oh, there it is. That it makes sense later. So just keep paying attention. Let's see. Yeah, Carolyn, I hear you. I won't repeat your comment, but I hear you. Oh, that's a great question, Christina. For someone who has lost a child, can you somewhat describe the reunion when we, the parents, eventually pass? That's huge. What I find about everyone's passing, not just parents, but everyone's, is I call it in my book the great download, or the ultimate download, is the moment we pass. When we ask ourselves the question why, as we're here in physical form, and I'm sure you all have asked the question why did this happen to me? Why did that happen to so and so? Like Jennifer just wrote, little girl passed. Why did that have to happen? When we ask those questions why, that's a function of the ego that we talked about earlier. We want to know why, because for some reason our human self thinks we're going to get comfort and security with certainty. We are craving certainty. It's not true. Nothing in life is certain, but that's what the human mind is craving. So when we pass, those questions are known, and they're known on a scale that I could never put into words in human form and book form as adequate as what it feels like. It is the great mystery of all solved. Why did my child have to pass? Why did these things have to happen? That we get the answers to and we are satisfied with. Because as human form, if I told you as a parent, well, your child had to pass so that 75,000 people around the world could find food, and the only way they could eat or live is if your child passed. That sounds pretty noble, right? Like we go, oh my gosh, wow, they helped 75,000 people. But no, our response would be like, I don't care. I don't want them to pass. I don't want my child to die. And that might sound selfish, but that's what's real and true. There will never be a reason strong enough or good enough to hear in human form It will never suffice. But when you pass, it'll all make sense. It'll all make sense. And it'll all be like, okay, I got it. Now I understand it. So right off the bat, you'll understand that great, big, horrible, the answer to that horrible question, why? And in addition to that, as soon as your child passed, they will have gotten their why. And in that is a massive spiritual reunion. And that truth is a huge, huge experience. The recognition of one another is won't be surprising for your child because they know when you're going to go. So they're already going to be like, they already know right now when we're all going to go. Everyone on the other side knows those things. They cannot intercept or change that. But there will be no words for me to adequately describe, except for the why will be understood. Okay, Peggy. Do I feel there's an appropriate amount of time to see a medium after someone's passed? Every medium varies on this. Some mediums say don't come see anyone, don't come see me for a year. I tend to, it's not every time, but I tend to kind of lose people off my radar 7 days after they've passed. The first 7 days, I feel like they're in the same room. It's like almost the most easiest time to connect with them. I don't know why that is totally. I have inklings why, but not the full answer. And then I kind of say I lose them off my radar about 7 days to about 8 weeks later. I've connected with thousands of people in that time frame, but their energy seems to be a little bit harder for me to connect with them. And it is more rare in those times for me not to receive messages in like a group setting. So a lot of times people come to me and they'll say, oh, they passed 5 weeks ago. And I'll say, well, that's why I would not be able to hear them in a group setting. Although that's happened. I have done it, but typically. But I don't think there's appropriate or inappropriate time. I literally sat with a family an hour after their father passed, and I stayed up with them all night, and we talked like for hours and hours. Literally, I left their house. That was 20, that was like 15 years ago, maybe 18 years ago. And we stayed up till like 4 a.m. and connecting with her father, who had just passed about 2 hours maybe before I got there. If she's tuning in, she can correct me on that. So it varies. It varies. I usually see people in the first 6 months to a year of someone's passing, and then I almost always see people in the 3rd year after someone's passed. That tends to be a very difficult time in the grieving process, which I also wrote about in my book. Okay. So yeah, Susan, when you feel you know what's going to happen before it happens, or you knew the answer before someone said it, this again, that's like going back to like, I think it was Dana that was saying that she has that. It's you're connected into the ether. So you're plugged in, so to speak. Plugged in. Let's see. Can a family member who passed before you were born be the one who is sending you signs? Oh, totally. Absolutely. Janae, definitely. That's just because you didn't know someone in physical form does not mean you didn't know them spiritually. In fact, I always say this, our children that are not yet born have met the other side before we have, because where we go when we die is the same source where we're sort of pulled from or come from when we're born. So in a reading, I often will say, oh, they have a baby at the gate. That's what, I don't know where I came up with that. It was like a baby at the gate, like they're handing you a baby, which means a baby's coming in. It's going to be born. So absolutely you can be connected to people you don't know, and they can absolutely send you signs. I have that with my grandfather that I don't have any conscious memories of, but I feel extraordinarily connected to a grandfather who did not have a warm and fuzzy experience here. He was not, all the stories are not nice about him. Like he was big, like mean alcoholic. So I don't have that experience of him at all. He's one of my like strongest, closest people that I connect with actually on the other side. Let's see, James, my love, James. I still harbor resentment to a couple of relatives who have been gone a long time. The flecks of memories are still scars with me. How do I deal with this? How do you change your mindset? Is the resentment because you were so young and it was so long ago, or is it a resentment over actions they did while they were here that you can't get past? I just want some clarity on that. Um, I think it's the second, the like things they have done that you can't get past. If that's the case, I'll address that first. Not to excuse people's behavior, because some behavior is inexcusable, but we do all have to remember that we are all human here, and we do what we are taught, or until something interrupts what we were taught and we want to change it and do something different. So if you can take certain people and realize they were human, they were being human. They might have been shitheads, but they're human. And within being human, there's going to be flaws, there's going to be mess ups, and then address it. As far as you're not excusing it, but you to really connect with their human, that component, that we're not perfect and we don't know. Even when we do know better, I don't think we always do better. And I know Maya Angelou said that, and it's like I hate to even say that I disagree with her, but I do. When we do better, when we know better, we don't always do better. I know better not to eat chocolate 24/7, but I don't do better on that. So, there you have it with that. So I would say to remember that they were human, even if they were older, even if they were supposed to know, um, they might not. They might not. Remember, everybody has a story. Everyone is hurt. Everyone expresses hurt or sadness and anger differently. It's not an excuse either, by any means, by any means. Because I have people, as you know, James, that they're still physically living, and I do not like actions they've taken, and so therefore I just have disconnected myself from them. So recognize that they're human. I recognize that people who have hurt me are human, but that doesn't mean I still want to put up with it. And it's just not enough for me to be around them. So I'm not even talking about forgiveness so much as I am just telling you to remember that those two are human. That alone can change your mindset, can change. And at the same time, you don't need to change your mindset. You can still be angry, and you can also still be moved on. And this is a really big misconception that I think a lot of people have, that if my girlfriend and I were just talking about it today, if something keeps triggering you, it doesn't mean you're not over it. You can be over something and you can still be triggered by it. It can still come up and rear its ugly head. It can still take over in a moment when we least expect it. So you can be past something and still get sucked into something or be upset by something at the same time. So be mindful of yourself trying to put it in a category of either or. Either I'm hurt and I'm horrified by it, or I'm forgiving of them. You don't need to, you could be in both camps. You can be in both. You don't need to be either one. That's really important. You could be happy and sad at the same time. You can be grateful and furious at the same time. These are common misconceptions that people think we're all or the other. Okay. Let's see. Veronica, you have good questions, you guys, tonight. If you're reborn, can that explain no signs because they've returned to redo as you're talked about? No, they could still send signs, because even if someone's reborn, every soul is a piece of another soul. So it's not like a full reincarnation. Like Abraham Lincoln can be reborn, but the person he's reborn to is also their own individual self, even though with a piece of Abraham Lincoln's memory or experience attached. So no, that would not necessarily explain signs. But if you believe that's why, that will also be why you wouldn't experience signs, because there's a part of you that is conflicting, saying, if I believe so-and-so is my father reborn, how could I get signs from my dad except through my son? Do you know what I mean? So Go back to what your core beliefs are, because I do believe for you, Veronica, that if you're not feeling like you're seeing the signs, it's either that you're wired to want things to be a very certain way, be very almost rigid, and that's not a bad word. It's not a bad thing. It's just be very tight and obvious or black and white. And signs do not come like that typically for anybody really. And yet within me saying that, there are signs that are like, holy crap, that's unbelievable. But I would say look into yourself as to what are your beliefs about signs? What are your beliefs about all of this? Um, you might have a family member that did not believe in any of that, so therefore you think that they will never give you signs because they didn't believe in it. So go really deep into what your core beliefs are about that person, about this, and connecting with them, and that probably will guide you into why you're not feeling or thinking that you're experiencing the other side. Okay. Are all children connected to the other side? Even if they don't talk or mention experience, can they still be having them? For example, a child seeing his or her sibling. Yeah, I do. Children are so much more plugged in because they haven't learned, and children, when I say children 3 and under, they haven't learned to filter out what's possible and what's not. They still don't understand the concept of death at all. So therefore, that someone who's died, they're like, no, but they're right here because that they don't know what death means to humans. And then we teach them what death means, which is not the right answer at all. But we're taught like, oh, when someone dies, they're not here anymore. And that's not true. They're just not here in body. Their soul is no longer in a body is the best way to explain it, but they're everywhere. But kids are naturally much more in tune. Absolutely. And then we mess them up. Or not. Your old resentments are being stressed by living assholes. Thank you, Sharon. Yes, I agree. I dislike the living way more than I dislike the deceased, that's for sure. But if you didn't get closure with someone, or you didn't get what you feel your voice heard by someone who's already passed, that's maddening. I mean, you feel like there's never going to be a chance to have your say, and that could be absolutely enraging and filled with resentment. So absolutely you would feel that way. Just know that their experience is no longer human and they are beyond all of that. So you can dip into your own non-human self and try to reach for your own closure or answers on that. That's high level, in my opinion. That's super high level to be able to do that. Let's see. Yes, will we be reunited, Eve? Oops, I lost the question. Uh-oh. Oh my God, I lost the question. Hold on. Oh, it's right here. We'll be reunited even with those who we did not like or have good relationships while living. Please don't say my sister's husband will be with us for eternity. I hear ya. This is why I say I'm never dying, because I'm not going to be reunited with my ex-husband. I'm just kidding. We spent the whole weekend with him. Right, Greg? Didn't we? So, yes, you will absolutely spend the rest of eternity with them. It is not there. You will spend eternity with their soul, which is the pure essence of who they are. It is our human self, our ego self, that is messed up and does screwed up things. It is not our soul self or spiritual self. That is always pristine and pure. The soul in Hitler is the exact same soul in Mother Teresa. So the soul is the same. The soul is what's good. Humanity goes cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and that way we express the soul's uniqueness. That is what can be evil or negative or terrible, and that is not who you'll be spending eternity with. You'll be spending eternity with the actual soul, not the human. Very important. Oh, Carolyn, that is a great wink that you have there. Let's see. I'm not going to take any personal intuitive questions. I just see yours, Deb. This is more like a generalized time right now. So embrace whatever is happening, and which sounds like really annoying advice from me. Like, embrace it, even though you feel like your life is falling apart. I'm not like being like not compassionate by any means, but it's like just embrace it and say, okay, the universe is smarter than I am. It knows better, and truly have that trust and faith, which is easier sometimes than others. Oh, Janae, yes. I love this. Everybody needs to listen to this question. She writes, I feel like since I've been growing spiritually, I'm outgrowing certain people in my life. Why could this be? That is extremely common and the hardest part in a lot of ways of evolution and moving forward. And when you're learning about yourself and discovering your patterns and making changes, all of a sudden people who are not on that same vibrational level, and it doesn't mean you're better and they're worse, it doesn't mean that, but when you're no longer on the same level, you physically can no longer stand to be around them. You just don't want to. You can't. It's like if you lose a ton of weight and you're like, no, I really don't want cookies anymore because I feel so good losing weight. Or just anytime you make a change, and you feel good with the change, you don't want to go backward. So it's extremely, extremely common. It is a difficult portion. Some people are like, oh, you're like so glad. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm like so free, and you feel great after finally being able to be very clear and have that clarity on like, no, I cannot anymore. Sometimes it's very amazing and freeing. Other people, it's difficult and it's a real conundrum. I had that myself very, very strongly. I vibrated away from certain energies that once were literally my very, 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 very closest people in my life, the only people I had in my life, but it does not feel right for me to be around them. That doesn't mean they're bad. It just means I don't vibrate on that level. So, and again, level, I don't mean like I'm higher and they're lower. I mean, I just don't mesh. I don't resonate with this energy field anymore. And it feels worse for me to resonate or try to resonate than just to say, I got to step away from this. This isn't good for me. So this is a very, very, very important question, concept, and embrace it. And definitely know you're not alone. I see a lot of people saying, yes, they totally relate to this one. This is super, super important. But very difficult. That's a difficult portion. Let's see. Oh, I see. Carol, that's a personal intuitive question, so I'm only going to do generalized questions. Do people apologize to each other after they pass, or is it an unspoken understanding that needs no resolution? It becomes unspoken. Going back to like that great download, the download of why is seen kind of like as a great timeline. And we see all the past that led up to a certain event and all the future that comes from it, positive and negative. So it's an understanding more than a sit down and let's apologize. And when we're in human form, we don't really understand that because we're in human form and we still want that sit down, discuss, but we will not feel that way when we cross. We will not be in human form. That's all, again, going back to the ego. So it won't translate with the human mind as to how that experience actually happens. So I'm going to wrap up now. I want to remind you guys that my class is coming up. Mediumship 101 is starting on Father's Day morning, and I have them on Sundays and Tuesday evenings, Sunday mornings and Tuesday evenings. You can look at my website for that information. Go check out my Instagram. That's just I'm putting all of my my inspirational whatever that comes to me in the day. I always put that all on Instagram. I'm not even really engaging much on Facebook anymore. So just keep looking out for my Instagram and sign up for that. And if you're like, oh, I don't get Instagram, I'm terrible with these things. I don't know how to work them either, but Instagram is really, really quite easy once you get the hang of it too. So it's good. So find me there. I am Deborah Hanlon. And I'm opening up, this whole chapter of intuitive coaching because this is the direction I want to go in. So if you're interested in more of the intuitive coaching, whether it's one-on-one or group, email my office, which is info@beingknowingdoing.com. I should probably have that up on my page here. But info, like information, info@beingknowingdoing.com. I bet you that Greg will type that in. So you can find that. Let's see what else. Energy transformation. I'm just looking at my notes here. And I think that is it. This is a wrap to our Monday night. You guys, I really appreciate you tuning in and staying with me and being engaged. I just can't tell you how much I so appreciate the fact that you are interested and intrigued in this time with me. So thank you for that. Thank you for sitting with me in my backyard. For those of you on Facebook, you've been in my studio with me. I'll see you next Monday night. In a couple of weeks, my father's going to be here, and a lot of you enjoyed having him on. So I'm going to try to jump on midweek again with him while he's visiting, so you guys can talk with him again. So thanks, everyone. Have a good night and have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Monday night. Good night, everyone. Good night, Facebook.